Be honest with me for a second. Somewhere in the back of your head, there's a version of you that thinks, if it really, absolutely came down to it, you could take a chimp. Come on, you've seen one. Little guy, waist height, big goofy grin, rubber-lipped, throws its own food. You've got a foot of height on it, you've got reach, you've got weight, and you've got about 200,000 years of top-of-the-food chain swagger, telling you that a 5-foot ape in a nappy is not your problem. I need you to sit down, because over the next 20 minutes I'm going to walk you through exactly what happens, second by second, when an average person fights a chimpanzee. The real biology, the real cases, the real numbers, honestly, including the ones the big scary videos get completely wrong. And by the end, you're going to understand something uncomfortable. The fight is over before you've even made a fist. Welcome to the arena. Today it's you versus a chimp. Let's find out how you die. Now, the first thing you've heard, and you've definitely heard it, is that a chimpanzee is 5 to 7 times stronger than a human being. Maybe you heard 10. It's the go-to fact. Anytime a chimp does something horrifying, some article, some post, some guy in a comment section will tell you, well, they're 7 times stronger than a man, so. Here's the burning question, and it's the whole video, so hold on to it. Is that actually true? Because if a chimp really is 7 times stronger than you, then the fight is simple. You're a paper bag, don't even bother. But if it's not true, if that number's a myth, then maybe, just maybe, you've got a chance. Let's go find the real number. And I promise you, where it leads is so much worse than 7 times stronger. To find out where 7 times stronger even came from, you have to go back about 100 years. Because that number wasn't measured by a scientist in a lab, it came from a zoo. In the 1920s, a biologist started testing chimpanzee strength using a pulling machine, a dynamometer, bolted to the wall of an enclosure, and the chimps put up wild numbers. One report had a chimp yanking hundreds of kilos, figures no human could touch. That's where 5 to 7 times was born. That's the granddaddy of the fact you've been repeating your whole life. There's just one problem. It was a mess. A chimp doesn't lift like a gym bro doing a clean, controlled pull for the camera. A frightened, excited chimp grabs a handle and explodes on it. A violent, full-body yank, using its whole weight, its legs, its momentum, all at once. You're not measuring strength anymore. You're measuring a tantrum with a rope attached. The number was junk. Impressive, terrifying junk, but junk. So for decades, 7 times stronger was basically a campfire story we all agreed to believe. Until, finally, in 2017, a team of scientists decided to do it properly. They published it in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, the big leagues. And instead of a rope on a wall, they went all the way down to the muscle itself. They took actual chimpanzee muscle fibers, and they measured at the cellular level how much force and power that tissue can produce compared to ours. And here is the real number, the one you should tattoo somewhere. A chimpanzee's muscle is stronger than a human's by a factor of 1.35. That's it, 1.35 times. Pound for pound, a chimp is about 35% stronger than you. Not 700%, 35. So take a breath, because right now you're feeling pretty good. 35%? You've got mates who are 35% stronger than you. You outweigh a wild chimp. A wild male chimp is only about 40 to 60 kilos, and you statistically are 90. You're the bigger animal. You're barely giving up any strength per pound, and you've got a huge weight advantage. This is looking survivable. Yeah, I'd like you to enjoy that feeling because I'm about to take it away from you. Because that 1.35 is not good news. That 1.35 is the scariest number in this entire video. And to understand why, you have to ask the question the scary articles never do. Why is a chimp stronger at all? Where does that 35% even come from? The answer is a thing called fast twitch muscle. Your muscles are built from two basic kinds of fiber. Slow twitch fibers are the endurance engines. They're weak, but they last forever. They let you walk all day, jog, keep going, keep going. Fast twitch fibers are the opposite, pure explosion. Massive force right now for a second, and then they're spent. And here's the split that decides everything. A chimpanzee's muscle is roughly 2/3 fast twitch. Explosion. You are the freak in this story. You are built the other way around. The majority of your muscle is slow twitch endurance fiber. You, my friend, are not a fighter. You are a marathon runner in a species costume. Evolution took one look at your ancestors and said, this one doesn't need to win fights. This one needs to walk 20 miles and throw a rock. That's you. That's what you're bringing to the arena. So the chimp isn't just 35% stronger. It's 35% stronger, and every scrap of that strength is the explosive kind. The kind that decides a fight in the first half second before your slow, sensible, energy-efficient body has even finished deciding to be scared. But strength is only the opening argument, because even now you're still picturing this like a fight. Two fighters, squaring up, trading blows. May the best ape win. I need to break that picture, because a fight with a chimp is not a fight. And to show you why, we have to actually step into the arena. Round 1. Here's what really happens. Second 0. You're standing there, fists up, doing your best impression of a person who has watched boxing. You've got your reach, remember? Your plan, and be honest, this is your plan, is to keep it at range and land one big clean shot. The knockout. You've seen it work on people your own size 100 times. The chimp does not care about your plan, because a chimp doesn't come at you in a straight line at a walking pace, so you can time it. It explodes. That fast twitch body launches, often on all fours, low and fast, then up, and it closes the distance you were counting on before your foot has finished its first step. Your reach advantage, gone. It was never real. Reach only matters if you're faster than the thing you're keeping at range, and you are the slowest animal in this box. So your big clean shot never happens. But let's be generous. Let's say, miracle, you land it. You crack it right on the jaw, the shot that ends people. And here's your second problem. There's nobody to knock out. A human goes down from a clean hit because we're these tall, top-heavy towers balanced on two little feet. Rock the head, the tower falls. A chimp is not a tower. It's low, it's dense. Its center of gravity sits down around its hips, and it can drop to 4 limbs in an instant. There's no chin to find, no tower to topple. You just hit the strongest, angriest pull-up bar in the world, and now it knows exactly where you are. And that's when the actual fight, the only fight that was ever going to happen, begins. Because now it has its hands on you. And a chimp's hands are not hands. They are the whole reason you were never going to win. Think about where a chimp's strength comes from in the first place. This is an animal that spends its life hauling its entire body weight up into trees and hanging off branches by its arms. Its forearms, its grip, its shoulders. That upper body is a purpose-built pulling machine, engineered by millions of years of don't fall out of the tree and die. When a chimp grips your wrist, it is gripping with a hand that can hold its whole body weight from one arm. You are not prying that off. You can't. There is no version of you strong enough to open that hand. You are now attached to the chimp for as long as the chimp wants you attached. And here's the rehook, the moment I promised you'd feel the floor drop out. Ask yourself, once it's got a grip you can't break, what does it do with you? What is a chimp actually trying to achieve? Because this is the thing the size charts and the strength numbers completely miss. A chimp is not trying to kill you. Killing is quick. Killing is merciful. A chimp, when it fights something it truly means to defeat, is trying to do something much older and much worse. It's trying to take you apart. Chimps are one of the very few animals on Earth that wage what can only be described as war. Coordinated, deliberate, group violence against rivals. And when it happens, it has a signature, a horrifyingly consistent signature that shows up whether the victim is another chimp or a human being. They go for the extremities, the hands, the fingers, the feet, the face. There's a brutal evolutionary logic to it, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. If you kill an enemy, you've removed one enemy. But if you take his hands, his fingers, you've removed his ability to climb, to fight, to feed himself, to ever be a threat again, and you've left him alive as a walking warning to everyone else. In the cold arithmetic of chimp warfare, the hands are the prize. The hands are the win. Now line that up with your situation. You are in a grip you can't break. And the very first things a chimp instinctively attacks are your hands, your fingers, the only weapons you brought. The fight isn't lost when you get tired or when you take a big hit. The fight is lost in the first few seconds, when the thing that was going to do your fighting for you becomes the first thing it removes. And if you think I'm being dramatic, I want to tell you about the day this stopped being a thought experiment, because this exact thing happened in a quiet suburb in Connecticut in 2009. A woman named Charla Nash went to help her friend catch her pet chimp, an animal named Travis. And I want to be honest with you about Travis, because honesty is the whole point of this channel. Travis was not a normal wild chimp. He was enormous, around 90 kilos, 200 pounds, hand-raised, and something that day went catastrophically wrong. So, this is the worst case, not the average case, but it is the clearest window we will ever have into what these hands and these instincts actually do to a human body. The attack lasted minutes, and the injuries followed the signature exactly. Charla Nash lost her hands, 9 of her fingers, her face, not scratched, gone, her nose, her lips, her eyelids, most of the bone structure of her mid-face. She was blinded. It took 4 surgical teams to even begin. Years later, she would receive a face transplant. She survived. She is remarkably, incredibly still with us. But her body was disassembled in the exact order this whole video has been warning you about. Hands, then face. That is a 200-pound animal that is, at the muscle, only about 35% stronger than a person pound for pound. Not 7 times. 1.35. And that number did that. Now, do you understand why 1.35 was the scariest number in the video? It was never the strength. It was never about the strength. It was always about what that strength is bolted to and what it's aiming for. So, let's finally answer the question honestly. Rounds over. Could you beat a chimp in a fight? No, you could not. Not with speed, it's faster. Not with a knockout, there's no chin to find and no tower to drop. Not by overpowering it. You can't open a single one of its hands. And not by lasting, because a chimp fight isn't measured in rounds, it's measured in seconds, and every one of those seconds is spent taking apart the parts of you that fight back. There is no version of an unarmed average human beating a chimpanzee. Full stop. I'm not going to soften it, because the softened version gets people hurt. But, and this matters because I promised you honesty in both directions, losing the fight is not the same as certain death. So let's talk about the only ways this doesn't end in a face transplant, because they're real. The first one is the most important, and it's boring, and it's true. Most chimp aggression you'll ever see isn't a fight at all. It's a bluff, a display. The screaming, the charging, the throwing, the branch shaking. A huge amount of that is theater designed to make you back down without anyone touching anyone. A shocking number of scary chimp encounters end the second the human stops escalating, and the chimp has made its point. The move is not to win. The move is to not be in a fight in the first place. The second is the one that quietly runs this entire channel. You have never, in the history of your species, beaten anything dangerous with your bare hands. Not the chimp, not the bear, not the lion, not the crocodile. You beat them with distance. A door, a vehicle, a tool, a thrown rock. Remember, that slow twitch endurance body of yours came with a freakishly good throwing arm and an arm that can aim. Put a barrier or a tool between you and that chimp, and the entire maths of this video inverts instantly. Not because you got stronger, because you stopped playing the chimp's game and started playing yours. And that right there, is the reframe I've been walking you toward the whole time. Because there's one last fact I've been holding back, and it changes what this fight actually is. You and that chimpanzee share almost 99% of your DNA. Line up your genetic code next to a chimp's, and they are about 98.8% the same. 6 or 7 million years ago, you had the same ancestor, the same animal in the same forest. That chimp is not your enemy. That chimp is basically a photograph of the fork in the road you didn't take. Because at that fork, one branch kept the fast twitch muscle, the grappling arms, the life in the trees, the strength. And the other branch, your branch, gave almost all of it away. We traded the explosive power for endurance. We traded the grip for a hand that could throw and make and hold a tool. We traded raw muscle for a brain so hungry it needed us to walk out of the forest, stand up, cooperate, and plan. We are the ape that got weak on purpose. So when you ask, could I beat a chimp, you're really asking the oldest question there is. And the honest answer is, not with the body you were given. Your body lost that argument 6 million years ago and never got it back. You can only beat a chimp with the exact thing that made you stop being one. The tools, the throwing, the planning, the working together. Strip those away, put you in an empty room with nothing but your bare hands and your 200,000 years of swagger, and you are simply the weaker ape. And that's not an insult. That trade, nor giving up the strength, is the single reason you're watching this on a screen instead of hanging from a branch. You were never built to win that fight. You were built to make sure it never happens. Now, if you made it this far, you're my kind of person, so let me talk to you for a second. Welcome to Tooth and Claw Arena, where every single week we take one of these fights you've secretly wondered about and run it, honestly, all the way to the end. If watching yourself lose to a chimp was somehow a good time, and if you learned something you can annoy your friends with at dinner, do me one favor and subscribe, because there is a whole arena of these coming and you do not want to walk into the next one unprepared. And the next one is a good one. Everybody thinks the chimp is the scary ape, but there's an animal out there that KOs grown men for fun, and it fights standing up, with a move you will not see coming. Could you beat a kangaroo? You'd be surprised how confident you shouldn't be. That's next. Last thing. Be honest in the comments. After all that, do you still think you'd stand a chance against a chimp? If you do, type chimp and own it, and let the rest of us pray for you. I'll see you in the next one.